It's the first day of summer, so everybody do your happy dance. Today's painting is inspired by Jim Dine's paintbrushes. We've talked a lot about Jim Dine in class, but usually we make hearts. So instead of hearts, let's make some colorful rainbow paintbrushes. Check these out. They're so awesome and can be individualized in so many ways. Today you will need a thick piece of paper. Watercolor paper is preferable, permanent marker, watercolors, paintbrush, and water. So the requirement for today is that you end up with 6 paintbrushes for the 6 colors that we're going to be using from the color wheel. Altogether, there are actually 12 colors on the color wheel, but we're just going to stick to the primary and secondary colors for our painting today. So, if you would like to follow along with me and make your paintbrushes look like mine, you are more than welcome. However, the fun part about art is that you get to be creative and use your imagination. So if you want to make up your own paintbrushes or maybe use different parts of all the paintbrushes that I make and put them together in different ways, please do that. Whenever you stretch your imagination, your brain grows. Did you know that? Next, we're going to give our picture some depth, or make it look more like it's grounded and not just floating paintbrushes on the paper. I'm going to go to the right side of each of my brushes and make a thicker black line. This will create a shadow on the right side that makes our paintbrushes look like they're laying on a table or a flat surface. So go ahead, take that black Sharpie and give yourself a shadow. All right, now for the part we've all been waiting for. We're going to add some color, baby color. We're going to be using rainbow order today, which means we're going to start with our primary color of red. Remember when you're painting with watercolors that you want to use a lot of water and a little bit of paint. So make sure your paintbrush and your paints are really, really wet. I'm going to add just a touch of paint to the top of my brush to make it look like it's been dipped into a paint bucket. And you'll notice that you can still see those black lines through my paint because watercolors are really translucent. That means you can see through them. Next, this is called the wet onto wet technique. I'm going to use just plain water and make a little blob above my paintbrush. Then I'm going to drip in some red paint and watch it flow around like a free-flowing river. You'll see that I'm just kind of guiding the paint where I want it to go. You can pick your paintbrush up or your paper up and kind of move it around to get that water to kind of move around. Next, my next paintbrush, I want to make sure that I am using a clean brush, so I rinsed it out with water. And I'm going to move on to my next color on the color wheel, which is orange. Red, then orange. Orange is a secondary color. So here I go with my wet onto wet technique. Ooh, look how the colors are starting to kind of flow one into the other. That's the cool part about watercolors, is they don't always stay put. Sometimes they like to go visit their friends. Dripping in the paint and just kind of letting it be free and flow where it wants to go. Most of the time it's going to stay within the boundaries of the water that you laid out before you put the paint on. Alright, so for the rest of the colors, I'm going to just repeat the steps with a little bit of water, a little bit of paint, kind of let them flow into one another. But I will go over the colors with you so you make sure you get them in the right order. Red, orange, and you can see I just did yellow. Next up is green. Then we will use blue and finish up with purple. Don't forget, it is okay to let those paints just be free and run wild and kind of blend into one another. That's the fun part about watercolors. So you know what I was thinking a little later on after I was done painting? Wouldn't it be fun to do a little bit of splatter paint on top of our painting? If you want, you could get some really wet paint, like watercolor, and load up your brush and kind of flick it all around your finished painting and have some little speckles around. I wouldn't do too much. It might take away from your actual picture, but I think it could look awesome. Let me know if you try it. Happy painting!